Now, if you pay much attention to bike tech at all, you will be well aware of the huge push to wider tyres and wider rims. Now, you might not be clear as to why there's this huge push, but that's okay because we're going to dig in and find out. The reason we've been thinking about this recently, though, was because of the arrival of Envy's new and really rather lovely SES 4.5 AR disc wheels the other day. Now, at first glance, they are typically Envy. They've got the different rim profiles, front and back, and they're laced to Chris King hubs. But they're Envys with a difference because these are breaking new ground in a really exciting way. For a start, they have a disc-specific rim profile, and then they've also, quite frankly, the widest rims I've ever seen on a road bike, measuring in a 31.5mm wide, with, crucially, 25mm internal rim width as well. The design has only been possible following recent developments in road bike design itself. So, the fact that they are disc specific means that they can be wide because there's no restriction on rim width from brake calipers. And then again, being disc specific, you can have much greater tyre clearance because again, you're not restricted by those brake calipers. So that is why we've been thinking about it. What about our initial question then? Why this drive to wider tyres and wider rims? Now, one of the most intriguing but also significant benefits is actually that wider tyres generate less rolling resistance. Now, it's hard to know why we've only really just cottoned on to this fact, given that rolling resistance data has actually been out there for quite some time. But nevertheless, it is there, and a 28C tyre is shown to roll 2 to 3 watts faster on average than its equivalent 25C tyre, and that is per wheel and at 40k an hour, and the difference is even greater on 23s. And the reason, or at least the theory, is that it's because of the shape of the tyre's contact patch. And so that as the tyre gets wider, the contact patch gets shorter, and that therefore improves the rolling resistance. Now, what's really important to note though is that you need a wide rim as well as a wide tyre in order to maximise these benefits, because actually the cross-sectional profile of the tyre is really important when thinking about that contact patch shape. But also, the cross-sectional profile is also important to minimise deflection in the tyre, which is kind of a little bit like that squirming feeling that you get when your pressures are really low, because deflection means friction, and friction in this case means increased rolling resistance. So you'll see with this 28C Schwalbe on this wide Envy rim, which now actually the tyre measures up at close to 31, you'll see the cross-sectional profile is really square, really well supported. And actually, while rear, that also means it's more aerodynamic too. Now, in a lab setting using finely tuned equipment, it is easy to quantify these results, but what is becoming increasingly interesting is actually testing out on the open road, spearheaded by Bicycle Quarterly. They pointed out that lab tests miss a crucial aspect of riding, and that is vibration. And it's the road buzz that really slows us down. And it's funny, isn't it? Because when we ride across cobbles or pave, it seems clear that the jarring and the vibration is slowing us down. We can really feel it. But why then, when looking at ordinary tarmac, did we not draw the same conclusions? Well, fortunately, Bicycle Quarterly did. And when they tested it out, they found that a wider tyre with less pressure rolls significantly faster than a harder one. And when we say less pressure, we really mean it. I've got just 50 PSI in these 28s. And the reason is because in a lab setting, a harder tyre rolls faster because there's less hysteric loss. So that tyre deflection and the friction generated that we just talked about. Whereas out on the open road, those losses are more than offset by the gains made from a reduction in vibration, or what Bicycle Quarterly are terming suspension losses. What you need to remember though is that you stop letting pressure out of your tyres when they start squirming, because at that point you're going to be going slower again. Now, I appreciate that reducing rolling resistance isn't going to be the be-all and end-all for all of us, but it seems pretty clear that a fairly major benefit to reducing vibration is going to be increased comfort for us. Now, you see, you can run the most comfortable frame in the world, but if you've got narrow, hard tyres on it, it's never going to be as comfortable as a stiff, racy frame with plush 28C tyres on it. Now, if that's not got you thinking about wider tyres yet, I'm still not finished. Wider tyres give you more grip when cornering. Now, it comes back again to that whole contact patch thing, but also a softer tyre is more secure on the road. Now, I'll admit, I sometimes feel like I'm getting a little bit old and I don't really want to test this one out thoroughly, but even at my current speeds, I feel more secure leaning in. There is one other aspect to wider tyres that should be of tangible benefit to all of us, and that is puncture resistance, because a wider tyre means increased air volume, which should mean that you're much less likely to pinch flat even at lower pressures. And then when you add into the mix that these wheels are designed to be run tubeless, well, I should be pretty well insured against flats. Should we find out? Now, one comment that we see quite regularly is why, if wider tyres are so good, are pros still running 25s? And it's a good point. Pros tend to gravitate to whatever's fastest, so there must be downsides, right? Well, firstly and foremost, as I said earlier, you do really need a disc brake bike in order to get fat tyres involved, and so pros obviously can't use those. But then, of course, there's the fact that wider tyres are slightly heavier. These ones are about 20 grams per wheel weightier than their 25 brothers. And then there's also the fact that there is a slight aerodynamic penalty for wider tyres. Admittedly, it's really small on these because they've been designed to accompany wider tyres, but if you try and fit a wider tyre on a rim designed for a 23 or a 25, the penalties are much bigger. And then, of course, there is tradition. The Pro Peloton could sometimes be described as being like an oil tanker in that it takes them a very long time to change direction. We just witnessed the amount of pros that are still not using aero bikes, despite the obvious advantage to them. Well, tyres are probably a little bit like that. It's going to be interesting though to see where this all ends up. I mean, how fat are we going to go, and who is going to get on board? Certainly, having seen the data, it's hard to argue with it. And so I think the future probably looks a little bit fatter. Now, if you want to see a bit more information about these wheels that I'm riding, then we've got an unboxing video with just these very set just up there. But admittedly, you can't win them anymore, so apologies for that. Or to see the aerodynamic guru behind MV wheels in the wind tunnel, click just down there. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe to GCN. To do that, just click on the globe.